In cathodic protection work, we use a copper-sulphate electrode. Copper sulphate is made by dissolving copper in sulfuric acid. The chemical reaction stops when the acid is saturated or full, or has absorbed as much copper as it can. The electrical potential of copper in a saturated solution of copper sulphate has a value that can be compared to other metals in their own salts, and these provide a list that can be used internationally. Steel has a corrosion potential that depends on the acidity of the electrolyte and will not corrode if electrical charges cannot leave the steel. The cathodic protection industry uses copper in a saturated solution of copper sulphate as a known reaction to compare with steel in an electrolyte when measuring a voltage. Copper sulphate electrode is sometimes called a reference electrode, abbreviated to RE. Sometimes a copper sulphate electrode, abbreviated to CSE, and is known commonly as a half cell. It consists of a copper rod in a saturated solution of copper sulphate contained in a tube with a porous plug at the end that can make electrical contact with the ground and complete a measuring circuit. Presence in the measuring circuit adds another electrical value to the total voltage measurement that is sometimes called a pipe-to-soil potential. Pipe-to-soil potentials are referred to in scientific papers published about studies of corrosion control and cathodic protection. The term is used widely in reports to asset owners and even government bodies, yet is not a subject that is subject to dispute. Some multinational companies require that half cells are calibrated by authorized laboratories. A half cell cannot be calibrated. That is why it is used as a reference potential in laboratory tests. A reference cell can be checked against another reference cell in closed circuit condition, but it cannot be altered or calibrated to make it more capable of use as a measuring instrument. It is not a measuring instrument. To make your own copper sulphate electrode, you can take a short length of copper rod and a plastic tube. You can use wood or porous filler to make a plug, but ceramic material does last longer. Put the plug into the bottom of the tube and fill it with copper sulphate solution. With some crystals at the bottom to make sure it is saturated. Fill the copper through the lid of the tube and prepare it as a meter connection. That's it. Copper sulphate ground contact electrode is a bit of copper in a solution. It has a known reaction potential, so to that solution, and it is a complete cell, not a half cell as described in the Nernst equations. A half cell reaction in science is a component of the electrochemical reaction between metal and the electrolyte. I have met many scientists who have laughed at the suggestion that our electrode is a half cell. Two of these scientists are nuclear chemists at top research universities, so who am I to argue?